What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to McLean's Man Cave Picks and Predictions Week 5 of college football. So, um, so a lot of this is going to kind of follow the theme of some of the analysis I talked about in Week 4. But let's just jump right into it since we got quite a bit of games. So first, we're going to go with Iowa versus Maryland. Both of these are 4-0 teams, both in the Big Ten. Maryland, you know, being a possible contender for the Big Ten East. We got Maryland, Michigan State, Michigan, Penn State, um, with the only defeated teams in the Big Ten East being Ohio State, Indiana, and Rutgers, and Iowa also being undefeated, hopefully contending for the Big Ten West. Uh, Iowa's ranked number 5. They're favored to win by 3.5 points. It's minus 3.5 at the moment. This is going to be a Friday night game at Maryland, and I'm I don't see as a Penn State fan, you kind of want Iowa to win this game because, you know, then Iowa could stay number 5, and then the following week when Penn State plays Iowa, then it's a top 10 matchup game. However, I actually think that Maryland is going to win this game by a smidge, and the reason why is I think Iowa's kind of following the same trend and the same fate as Wisconsin, but not as severe as Wisconsin. So with Wisconsin, you know, they have a great defense, but they have no offense, and they can't have any explosive plays at all. They don't have anything in the tank. Iowa, I'm not saying is is that bad on offense. I mean, they struggle a little bit on offense, but it's not as bad. They do have some offensive production. However, this is a night game. It's Friday night. Maryland has been kind of craving for like a big, especially a top 10 win. So I feel like the fans are going to be going crazy, and I think the real game changer here is going to be Tulia Tungavailoa. I mean, we'll see how he shows up. Is he going to show up like he did during Illinois, or is he going to show up like he did against West Virginia? Like we're going to have to see. But I think that he's going to show up and he's going to make a few explosive plays on offense. It's going to kind of stun Iowa, and Iowa's going to have a hard time bouncing back, especially on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be close. Maryland's going to pull away. Moving on to Georgia, number 2 Georgia versus number 8 Arkansas. So this is where ESPN Game Day is going to be, and Georgia's favored by 18.5, and I'm kind of liking that. I said Arkansas was the most improved team in the country this year, and I still stand by that. I still agree that they're number 8 in the country. However, I think Georgia is like on firing on all pistons, and I think that at this point, you can only jump so much in one year, and I think Arkansas made a good strive, to where they are now, but they're not gonna like miraculously jump up to number 2 and beat number 2. I don't see it. I'm not really feeling an upset here. I think Georgia actually covers. I think it's going to be a shootout a little bit, but Georgia's defense is really going to crack down and eventually going to pull away. I'm going to say they win by 21 to 24 points and they cover. So Georgia beats Arkansas. Moving on, this is actually one of my locks. Michigan, number 14, Michigan versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin is now unranked, I believe. Um, right now, I'm seeing Wisconsin's favored -2, and that's the reason why I'm calling this a lock. Like, I think Wisconsin's already got burned a few times. They haven't really proven much on offense. Their defense is still strong as ever, but this is the thing. I have the same conversation as I had with Iowa. If Michigan has one big explosive play, Wisconsin will not be able to respond. So I think this is going to be a close game. And I think eventually, Michigan might have that one breakout play, whether it's Blake Corum or McNamara throwing down the field, and Michigan escapes Madison, Wisconsin with a win. So that's the main reason why I'm calling this as a lock because +2 against the spread, I'm pretty comfortable with that. If it was like a Michigan -3, I don't know about that, but hey, all they need to do is practically win or even lose by 1 point and you're good. So I'm going to call Michigan +2 a lock. Moving on to Wake Forest Louisville. Last week I chose Virginia over Wake Forest, and I was wrong, completely wrong. I clearly didn't know enough about Wake Forest in their breakout season, and I think it doesn't stop there. They're 4-0. They're one of two teams, other team being Boston College, the 4-0 teams in ACC, and I think both Wake Forest and ACC, Boston College, they really got green grass in front of them. All they got to do is win. Their hopes of the playoff, their hopes of the ACC championship are theirs to own. And I think because of this, Wake Forest has so much more to play for. Louisville, I know, is a great team. I picked them in my last lock, and I was right about them. However, they let Florida State score 23 on them. On the defensive side of things, still not 100% convinced. I think this one's going to be another kind of shootout, but I think Wake Forest does pull away, and Wake Forest ends up winning this game to improve to 5-0. Moving on to Cincinnati and Notre Dame. Cincinnati is favored Cincinnati is favored minus 2.5. And I said for the past 2 weeks, I went against my Notre Dame Fighting Irish when they played Toledo and when they played Wisconsin. And guess what? Notre Dame won. So I said, well, I guess I should favor Cincinnati. If I keep favoring the other team, Notre Dame's going to win. However, I don't think that's the case anymore. I think I'm actually going Notre Dame this time. I think they kind of found their rhythm on offense and on defense. Cincinnati, they haven't really proven themselves yet. They had a few weak teams. They did play Indiana, which is, a Big Ten team, but they're probably this year the worst team in the Big Ten East, at least. So, and that's not saying too much because the Big Ten East is a really tough conference. Regardless, Indiana did have the lead against Cincinnati. Cincinnati kind of figured it out throughout the game, and they won. However, I don't think it's going to be as smooth for Cincinnati at South Bend, Indiana. I think Notre Dame kind of found their rhythm, and they're kind of like trying to prove some doubters wrong. I know Cincinnati's trying to prove some doubters wrong, saying, oh, we're going to be the first non-Power 5 team to get to the playoffs. So they have something to fight for, too. So I think it's going to be a close battle, but I think Notre Dame's going to pull this off. I'm starting to see a little bit more consistency with them. Moving on with Ohio State and Rutgers. Now everyone's going to say, I'm just going to say it right now, Rutgers with the upset. And they're going to say, oh my God, what the hell is wrong with you? But listen, I was right about one of the upsets last week, and I was basically right about the second upset too, because let's be real, West Virginia should have won that game. And I have some reasoning. Ohio State's coming off a big win over Akron. I know Akron's not the best team, but they were like, oh, where's Ohio State's offensive power, blah, blah, blah. Okay, boom, 59 points. They're like, see, we're back. I told you, blah, blah, blah. Now we're going to play Rutgers. They always suck, blah, blah, blah. No. Greg Schiano, if you don't remember, Greg Schiano, after being head coach of Rutgers, he became a few offensive coordinator. I think he went for Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then he was offensive coordinator, I believe, for Ohio State. So he knows the playbook for Ohio State. He had a game plan against Michigan last week, and he executed perfectly. Took Blake Corum out of the game, and basically kind of made it an even battle. So I expect Ohio State's kind of coming in with a little bit of arrogance, thinking that they're just going to be able to stomp all over Rutgers. But the home crowd's going to be there. It's going to be rocking. I'm actually from New Jersey. I think I might be going to that game. We'll see. And I'm not going there because I'm not rooting for Rutgers because I'm from New Jersey. I'm just saying this is my unbiased opinion. I think even if Ohio State wins, the line is minus 15.5 for Ohio State, and I still think it's not a lock, but I still think it's safe to say I would go Rutgers against the spread and take the points plus 15.5 for many reasons. Like I said, the Rutgers defense really cracked down on Michigan's high-scoring offense. Ohio State had looked soft on defense. Let's be real, they looked soft, and their offense has been inconsistent. They haven't without C.J. Stroud, they scored 59. We'll see what happens, but inconsistency on offense, soft on defense. This is clearly not the same Ohio State team. This clearly is a different team for Rutgers, however, and Rutgers has been hungry. They've been hungry for this win, especially at home. So I'm going to call it right out there. Rutgers pulls off the upset. Okay, Oklahoma State, Baylor. This is probably going to be one of the most evenly matched games from this week. Oklahoma State 4-0, Baylor 4-0. Both kind of smell the blood in the water, with Oklahoma not being the Oklahoma everybody knows. And they're like, hey, let's be that top dog. So, I think Oklahoma State had, a great win against Boise State on the road, and Boise State's no team to laugh at. They're a really tough team. And Baylor, they just kind of proved themselves against Iowa State. So both of these teams are pretty good. Oklahoma State favored by -3.5, and you know what? I'm gonna go with Oklahoma State on this one. Oklahoma State wins this. They're home, and they keep moving on. Moving on to Penn State, Indiana. All right, don't get me started. So last year when we played Indiana in Bloomington, the refs gave them the game, the worst call in football history, and I'll say it again. That was that 2 point conversion. Went into overtime. The announcers were pro Indiana the entire time, trying to make this Cinderella story so that they could help their career because they're just selfish in that aspect. And I don't take that away. I mean, that was literally so biased on the refs aspect and on the announcers aspect. And it went down to a 2 point conversion where, if Indiana got the 2 point conversion, they win. And if they don't, they lose. And essentially went down and they called it good. And then after looking at the replay, even the announcers and the fans got quiet. They're like, ooh. And the announcers were like, oh man, well, I guess Penn State wins because he's clearly out of bounds. They're so disappointed. And then the refs were like, call a stance, I don't know if it was stance or confirms, but regardless, it was the wrong call because, I'll probably put it on the thumbnail. He literally, the ball touched the ground. He was knocked out of bounds. It wasn't even close. He was literally short. He was trying to reach for the pylon. He didn't even knock it over the pylon until he got out of bounds. So, my point, this is going to be a revenge game for Penn State. The line is opened at 10.5. It's now at -12, favoring Penn State. And I think Franklin's going to have a different mentality than he did with Villanova. With Villanova, he was winning 38-3, and he said, you know what? Let's pull out our first string. Let's even pull out some of our second string, and let's just test the depth, make sure everyone's healthy. And with this game, I don't think so. I think Franklin has kind of a little bit of a grudge, and I do too. And I think it would be amazing to kind of I'd love to see Tom Allen angry. So I want Penn State to win by 40-50. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Penn State's going to win by 28. I see Indiana scoring some points too. I could definitely see the score being 42-17. I'll say that. 42-17. I always go in the 40s for some reason. I don't know why. But 42-17, Penn State wins convincingly, and they get their revenge on Indiana. Moving on, Boston College, Clemson. And everyone's going to say, wow, do you really hate Clemson? I don't hate Clemson. This is just my objective opinion. And people want to say, oh, this is subjective opinion. But, I'm just kind of looking at the trends, looking at objective numbers. And, if you want to make this an objective opinion, you can just say, look, that's kind of like an oxymoron, objective opinion, whatever. But Boston College, points per game, 40-something, 42, I think. And Clemson, points per game, 16, something like that, ballpark. And points against, Boston College is 4-0. They have something to fight for. Clemson is kind of on the downhill trend, kind of tail between their legs. They're home, whatever. I don't really think that's going to make much of a difference. I don't even know if some of the fair weather fans are even going to show up. Maybe the diehard fans, but not the fair weather fans are going to be like, I'm just going to stay home and watch TV. I think Boston College wins this game, and if they don't, I'm going to call this a lock. I'm not saying that money line they win is a lock, but I think, Clemson is favored -16, and I definitely think Boston College +16 against the spread, that's a lock. I don't think if Clemson wins, they're not going to be winning by more than 16. I don't even think they'll score 16 points in this game. We'll see, but I think Boston College wins. They have more to fight for. They smell like just like Oklahoma State and Baylor. Wake Forest in Boston College, they smell the blood and water. They're like, oh, we could just take this conference right now. So Boston College wins. If they don't, they lose by less than 16. That's what I say. LSU and number 22 Auburn. I don't know why the hell Auburn's ranked after that. After they basically lost to Georgia State, I'm going to keep saying that over and over because that was just embarrassing. LSU, great win on the road against Mississippi State, even though Mississippi State was favored. LSU's favored -3.5. And you know what? I say that LSU wins this game. I'd say they win by like 7-10. Um, and yeah, just after this game, Auburn just gets out of top 25 because that's where they don't belong there. And moving on, UCLA and Arizona State. Both of these have one loss, I believe. UCLA lost to Fresno State in that last drive, and Arizona State, I believe, lost to BYU. Both these teams pretty good. Both still contenders in the Pac-12. But however, I think I'm just going to go with UCLA on this. I think that loss against Fresno State, they kind of had it in the bag with a minute left, and they kind of let their defense slip up. All credit to Fresno State; they're a great team. But I think UCLA might be a little bit more talented. With DTR, I believe they call the quarterback DTR. So I think he kind of drives it home, and UCLA wins, and they keep their hopes alive for a Pac-12 championship. Moving on to Ole Miss and Bama. So this is going to be the most high-scoring game this week. And a lot of people say, well, why won't you make your lock the over for Bama Ole Miss? And I'm going to say, well, I think the line is like 80 or in the 80s or low 90s. And I'm like, that's just kind of high. Like, I don't know. You really got to have some you got to be bold to bet the over. I mean, it's not like a definite, but Ole Miss has a great offense. Bama has a high offense, but we'll see what happens. I end up, this is a good game for Nick Saban's young team. They a little bit on the unexperienced side. They definitely have a great team, but they just need a little bit more experience. And I think that Bama ends up winning by 10. It's going to be kind of contested. Ole Miss is definitely going to be in there in that game the whole time, but Bama's going to win, I think, about by 10. And yeah, that's about it with my picks. So for my locks, like I said, I'm definitely going Michigan +2, and I'm going Boston College +16. Definitely not on the money lines, but I don't know. And the two upsets being Rutgers and Boston College. We'll see. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Comment your thoughts down below. If you like the video, hit the like button. And consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that bell icon so you can get these videos when they're hot off the press. Just to stay informed. Obviously, I'm not a know-it-all. This is just my hobby. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I think these are pretty accurate. And we'll see what happens with some of these big games. Because I mean, if Boston College wins, then ACC is going to be. We're just going to have to find out. Now, on the other side of things, I'm just going to go and say, a lot of people are probably going to be like, well, I thought your channel is not just about football, but like about collecting and Star Wars and anime and things like that. And it just, right now it's like the heat of football season. So right now is like the perfect opportunity to just keep talking about football because that's what's hot right now. And I think a good time to really do that other stuff might be like in the wintertime after football season because, around that time not much is really going on besides maybe March Madness. And I'm not really into basketball. So maybe those videos will be coming a little bit maybe in the wintertime. I am considering putting, I might put a video, like a ranked video for Star Wars Visions. If you're not aware that Star Wars Visions is like basically some adaptation, different studios kind of making their own animated series, all short stories. 9 episodes, and they're not related at all. They're all different. And in that video, I'll give my thoughts, my opinions, and my verdict there, and I'll kind of rank each of the 9 from best to worst, and you'll be the judge. So yeah, so stay tuned for that video coming up. But other than that, guys, take care. Have a great week, and hope your team wins. All right, guys. So take care.